Hello everyone, my name is Jeff Rolka. I want to thank you for checking out my video. This is questions from comments 13, lucky number 13. And it's a question that comes up rather frequently in a variety of different ways. And I think we can all learn a little bit from it. So I'm going to get right to it. Thank you so much for choosing to check this out. I hope that you've subscribed. If you haven't yet, I hope that you'll do so now. You can support my channel in a variety of different ways. Those are in the description. They do include Patreon, where you can get MP3s and my notes and things like that. Pretty soon I'm going to have the ability to actually have music in the notes as well, all at very modest monthly sort of contributions. So anyway, thank you. I have a question about high notes, naturally, and vowel modification. Now, for those of you that are new to that phrase, vowel modification is the process whereby we adjust the shape of vowels as we are ascending up in our scales in order to facilitate smooth transitions through registration events. So generally this comes up a lot in like baritone and tenor pedagogy when they're trying to navigate the secondo passaggio. It, however, also comes up when you have contraltos, mezzos, sopranos working through the various registration events as well. And it is literally the process of changing the vowels. So, vowel modification. Does one listen either with your own or a teacher's ears to the sound you make and learn when and where you need to modify vowels and then just remember it? Or can one feel when the vowel needs to move a bit? Sort of like when you feel when you need to slowly and bit by bit change your register as you go up or down the scale. I've learned not to listen to my timbre as a guide, but sometimes I do have a sense I'm hearing clearness of pitch or vowel. Then I pretend everyone else is hearing Mario Lanza, of course, but that's a different reality issue, and I thought that was really cool that this person wrote that in there. You've heard me say this before. I'm going to say it again. When you write a question like this, it very nearly answers itself, because most of what we will find in this question is kind of true and also not the sole answer to the question. So let's back up a little bit and start to pick this apart a little bit more. Now, I explained vowel modification, but let's be really clear about that. You're singing a different vowel. That's really what this is. When I'm coming into my zona di passaggio, so this is the key of G. That's a D natural above middle C. Now, I don't have to modify that too terribly much, but let's actually, you know what, scratch that. Let's do A flat. The E flat will require a bit more modification for my voice, but here on the A flat, it requires virtually none. If I sing E, you can hear me leaning it towards eh. I am slowly changing the vowel as I mount the scale or as I ascend the scale. And I'm going to undo it on the way down. Slowly altering it and then taking it away is what gives us this smooth transition and consistency of tone. If we try to do it all at once, when we're right at the secondo passaggio, it becomes very obvious. And it makes that transition very obvious. And it is part of what can make that transition so difficult. Because typically, along with vowel modification, comes the ability to allow the vocal fold to be flexible enough to elongate longitudinally so that you slowly make this adjustment from thyroarytenoid dominant singing to thyroarytenoid dominant singing for cricothyroid dominant singing. Sorry, I'm getting like all into the groove here and I forgot cricothyroid dominant singing. Okay? So, let's just say I didn't do that. Let's leave out this cricothyroid activity. You can hear how that's starting to strain as I come up to the E flat, and also my pitch isn't quite right. All of these things work together to make for a successful transition across the secondo passaggio. But let's get deeper into the question here. Using your own or your teacher's ears. Yes, this is where a teacher or recording devices can be extremely helpful. Now, hopefully, a teacher can expedite this process because they can listen to the qualities of your vowels, determine, roughly speaking, where your secondo passaggio may be, and then help you to become accustomed to the amount of modification that is required as you ascend towards the secondo passaggio. If you don't have a teacher, you can still do this. You just have to record yourself kind of frequently and try to assess on your own by listening how much modification you need. It's helpful to have someone who can listen to you and give you that objective, hopefully schooled ear into vowel modifications as you approach the secondo passaggio. But if you don't, or you cannot, that's fine too. You can still work with recordings and also the internal sensations and your own internal hearing of things, because ultimately we do need to come to some sort of understanding of the sound of our voice. But again, as we go further into this, what our comment here talks about is also the feel of things. And let's get to that, okay? Sound you make when you learn, need to modify vowels and then just remember it, or can one feel when the vowel needs to move a bit? I would suggest to you that those are both parts of the picture. If you are ascending and you are feeling a certain resistance to the pitches, and particularly if you know the pitches that you're singing and you know that they are below the secondo passaggio, then that to me would suggest asking the question of, if I'm feeling this increase in strain, or there's perhaps not the best intonation, or I'm feeling a bit of resistance here, what note am I on? I'm on D. Okay, I probably need to allow for a certain amount of vowel modification. How much is not only dependent on your own personal voice, but is also on the vowel too. A and O are in close proximity in the way that they are formed to the schwa vowel. The schwa vowel is, if you look at charts, it's sort of the middle ground of all these vowels. And the schwa vowel is what we are all blending towards. Now, there are loads of interstitial vowels between E, which is a narrow forward-focusing vowel, and the schwa vowel. You have E, a, and then you come into the schwa. And that's still, there are still more that fall into the cracks there. If you look at the IPA, like a chart of the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, you can look at all the various different vowel combinations and sounds, fricatives and diphthongs and all kinds of stuff like that that we sing and we have to come to an understanding of. But it's a combination of that internal sense of sound and getting used to what your voice sounds like, and also the feel of it and what it feels like if you're feeling resistance, and using all of that information along with your personal practice and becoming habituated to knowing when you are in a certain range of your voice and the amount of vowel modifications that a given vowel may require. So for E, it may require more than an A may still require more than A and O, as you approach the secondo passaggio, will probably not require very much at all, because they are already so close in the way that they are formed to the schwa vowel. And of course, the schwa vowel can feel quite amorphic. It doesn't have the same kind of focus that an E does. And you say, it tends to feel quite open and in some ways shapeless. A lot of times what we have to learn to do with the schwa vowel is to give it shape in our vocal studies. So it has quite the opposite of a requirement than, say, an E or an oo. Oo being the narrowest of the rearward focusing vowels. So I do hope this helps. I realize there was a lot of voice teacherese in this. In quick summary, it is a combination of all of these things. It is a combination of our feeling as we are singing the vowels and ascending scales. It is a recollection of the sound as we have grown accustomed to it in working either with a teacher who is showing us how much modification to apply as we ascend the scale, or in recording ourselves, experimenting with those modifications, and then coming to some conclusions about what is appropriate for our genre and the function of our voice, such that we get good, consistent tone production through the zona de passaggio, ultimately across the secondo passaggio, and of course, back down. As always, I do hope that helps. My name's Jeff. If there are questions or comments, and this is a subject that I would expect there to be some amount of that, because vowel modification gets talked about in a lot of different ways, please do feel free to drop them in the comments. I will get to them as soon as I possibly can. Thank you so very much for watching. Take really good care of your voices, enjoy singing, and hopefully we'll see you again. Bye.